I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Just like a little lightning talk. When I first figured out about Women Who Code, I was like, oh my gosh, these ladies are awesome. I want to contribute. So just a little bit about me. I was a military/missionary brat, so my family lived in Africa for 3 years, and we were all over the country, so I kind of just like grew up online and like learned all my HTML, CSS that way. Just the like making my Neopets site pretty, right? All that stuff. So then became an English teacher, taught 6th grade and 9th grade. Figured out that wasn't really my forever. So then we moved out here. And this is my dog Paisley. She's a little Maltese. She's 9 years old. We adopted her when she was 7. She's very grumpy all the time, but I love her. I just graduated with my full stack web development certification thingy through DevMountain. So I'm very excited about that. Thanks, guys. If you guys want to connect with me, my website is bjordan.codes, and bjordancodes is my Twitter and my LinkedIn. Hire me, please. Okay. Tech in ed. What is it that teachers really need anyway? So we're going to give a quick overview of when I was teaching, what we used, and then what would be helpful if you were to develop a new kind of app for teachers. So the modern classroom may have changed since we were in school. So there are always cell phones available. Kids are always on them. Some kids come in with 2 or 3 cell phones, not even kidding, or 2 cell phones and an iPhone, and an iPod. Yeah, I know what technology is. So they always have their own handheld devices. And lots of schools are equipping themselves with laptops for like every classroom, which is so cool. I taught in underprivileged schools, so we didn't have that. But it is really neat, some of the technology that's going along with that. So I'm focusing today just on web apps that I was using in my classroom, and we didn't have the availability of laptops, so we were using alternatives. So some of you guys might recognize these card responders. So like a lot of schools will have these old things. They're terrible. They're so bad. First of all, it's really boring to use them. And second, like you have to like wait for every student to put in their answer, and it's just really easy to get distracted. And so it's not really that great. And you can't have any open-ended responses when you're using them. So where I was teaching, we ended up using just a ton of paper. I mean, you're going to use paper in English, right? But we ended up using a ton of paper because we had to have open-ended responses all the time, and there just wasn't a incredibly good way to do that. And then lastly, using web apps is a really great way to collect quick data, especially where I was at. Having data every day, super, super important. So checking that, what you taught today actually registered, or to see if we need to go over it again next time, that kind of thing. So being able to track all our data quickly and efficiently and get it into the gradebook is super important. So there are 2 major types of response collecting that I'm going to talk about today. We're going to do a little bit of demo. So if you guys want to get your cell phones out, you don't have to, but you can if you want. So the first one is Kahoot. If you guys have kids, your kids have used Kahoot. They use it all the time. I pulled it up on my other computer. So, oh, there it is. Yeah, you're right. Kahoot is used all the time, and it is definitely not the best tool for the job, in my opinion. So if we play a Kahoot, which we're not going to play the whole thing, we'll just get started. If you go to kahoot.it, you can join in. And there's a game pin. Um, 6, 4, 0. you guys can see already, I'm losing time, right? Here, waiting for people to nickname themselves and choose their emojis, right? So we can see how already we're kind of getting distracted from the process, right? And if someone signs up as G dash $, I don't know who that is, right? Like, when I'm looking at the grade report later, that is not helpful to me. So let's go and get started. I think maybe I don't actually have questions on here for this one. It was a bad one to choose. I should have done the vocabulary ones. So what I was having to do was I was having kids read their packets, and then we would go through and we would answer just the answers on the Kahoot after they've finished their packets. So yeah, not super helpful, but you will see on your handheld that you can click on the corresponding button. And good job, those people who randomly guessed A. So then it gives you scores.
Dang it, Claire.
And it gives you points for being quicker, right? So we'll do one more question. All right, so one more guess, guys. All right, 4 people. Good job, guys. All right, and we're going to go ahead and end the quiz there. So, so Jonna wins, right? So they gamify it, they make it into a competition. But at this point, the results page, I'll show you what it looks like. Oh, sorry, I'm downloading stuff to your computer. Oh, that's not going to help. Yeah. Yes. This is okay. We'll get back to that. Okay. So that's the first one, right? Our next demo is going to be oh my gosh, I just closed it. Wait, what's the open up a tab you just closed? Thank you. Thank you, ladies. So I actually made a demo in this one. So this is quizzes, and this one is self-paced. So students can do it on their own, but you still get the results feedback on the page up here, so it is still gamified. So if you'll go to join.quizzes.com and enter your game code. It is, and I always misplace them. But it's not a real spelling word. Oh, yeah. So, imagine you are a 9th grader. Are you gonna find this?
Oh, this one's nice. Yeah, this is cute.
Okay. So we do still have to. Yeah. So now everyone's phones are going to be singing. That's my favorite thing. Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's just a short 5-question quiz. It's all handheld, so it's all on your own pace.
How can I not? They're both directors.
Okay, that one was hard.
That doesn't count.
Oh no! I'm sorry, Vanessa. I used the wrong name. I'm sorry, guys.
I'm like, I didn't.
Oh, I didn't actually give you guys one of the answers either. Okay. This is not an actual ability or reflection of your ability as humans to answer questions.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Vanessa. I feel so bad.
Okay. Going down so low. Hold on.
Okay. Well, I didn't win at my own quiz, so. So, we still have some people who are answering or giving up. My phone's still singing, I'm sorry. Okay. You can turn off the sound from the front, but I think the kids have to turn off their own sound. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and end the game, because when the game is over, we can get our data. So it shows pizza emoji, cute. Good job, Lucy. Our winners, and so here it will show us per student how the quiz went. So this is a really quick, easy way to like look at our snapshot data, and then we also can download it from Excel. And then we can also break it down by question, which is, I think, one of the most helpful things. It'll tell us, according to the questions, who got it correct. People paid attention to Paisley. Yeah, this one was dumb because I thought it was going to differentiate you and Claire on the PowerPoint.
You and Carrie.
Dang it! This is like the third time in 2 days.
I'm Victoria, so.
Okay, so I'm terrible at everyone's names. I'm sorry. So I thought I was going to differentiate everybody. So, but yeah, so it gives us that feedback immediately. It's easy to use UI, so we can go through and immediately review our questions. So the ones we got the worst. So not only does this generate multiple choice answers, whole group data, and individual. It also does individual student data. And so we can send that to our students individually if we feel like entering all that information. So I like quizzes better than Kahoot simply because it's got that self-paced built in, right? So kids can finish it up and then move on to something else instead of just sitting around waiting for everyone else's Kahoot to register, and then the kids who are like too slow or really mad at the Kahoot, and it's fine. So here's our last one. So this one is for open-ended questions. So if you'll go to pollev.com/BonnieJordan858, it will let you respond to my questions. Poll is currently active. So my question is, who is your applaud her for today? And you don't have to get super in detail or anything, but I just thought it would be a nice thing.
Victoria, dang it. I misspelled.
And if you notice on your handheld, you can actually upvote or downvote. I'm going to upvote whoever put Paisley. I'm going to applaud her too. So you guys can see this is a really quick and easy way, like maybe for a closing ticket or something where we can get everyone's responses in one place. And this one's, it's meant to be a little bit more free-flowing. So I think they've changed the UI since I was using it. So I don't know that I actually can show everyone's names on there. So you can, like, everyone gave a screen name when they signed in, right?
You can also skip that.
Yeah, or you could skip it. So obviously, like, you have, like, if you want to get credit, right, as a kid, you have to, like, put your name. But then I can lock it, and we can be done responding, and then we can discuss, talk about it. I can also load in multiple questions, so I can have them answer multiple things. But it's just a quick and easy way to get everything in one place. But there's no integrated, like, grading or anything going on with this one. It's all just your responses. And there are also different kinds of polls, but because it doesn't actually, like, do the grading, it's not as helpful, those different kinds of polls. Okay, so we went over Kahoot and quizzes. So those are just straight multiple choice, quick quizzes. And those kind of are about the same as what you would do for, like, a clicker quiz or something. And then your poll everywhere is more in-depth with your open responses. So why do we need it? We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. Ease of grading, being able to just port over those grades is a huge help to the teacher. Easy snapshot data. So like we looked at with the live dashboard response on the quizzes, like just being able to just look at it and say, okay, we had trouble with this one, or Jimmy is struggling, right? Just by looking at it all together. And whole classroom engagement. So making sure no one gets left out, and it helps kids have more buy-in when it's gamified like that. So some helpful features, some things that I found very helpful, or I would find helpful when I was teaching. So the creation of classes by importing Excel files from rosters. So almost every gradebook will let you export, like, just the kid's name and their ID. And if I could just import that into your app, that would be, like, the most amazing thing, because pretty much every single made for teacher web app thing that I've used, I have to go in and, like, manually enter, if I'm entering kids at all, or it's up to the child to sign up, and that's just a mess. So, like, we use this really good site called No Red Ink, but the kids have to have an email address and they have to sign in. And so if, like, I have to get them set up with their school email address, and it's just, like, a really long process. It takes me, like, half a class period just to get everybody in the first time. And then if we forget how to do it the next time we do it, it's a mess. So being able to just import my classes and give my kids either just, like, sign in with your student ID or whatever would be super helpful. Next, exporting the number grades in an Excel file tied to the name and ID. So pretty much every gradebook software is going to have an import where you can just import an Excel file. And so when we have an export, I was trying to show you guys with the Kahoot one that wasn't pulling up. The Kahoot export gives us this Excel file that has, like, 4 different tabs on it, and it's broken down the information into, like, 16 different things, none of which is useful for me because I can't just click the button to import it into my gradebook. Like, I can look at it and it's good records, right? But if I'm going to give students a grade for that, I have to go and manually enter all of those grades. So just for ease of use for the teacher, being able to export just file name or student name, ID, and their grade be super helpful. And so other things that I've found really useful is options of pacing. So with Kahoot, one of the things that is nice is it does give us that immediate feedback for the whole group. So like if we notice that almost no one got this question correct, I can stop, we can go over as a group right then. So having that option to do that whole group, as well as having the option to work on your own would be nice. Being able to do it all in one place would be really cool, because like the quizzes is obviously separate from the Kahoot. So having that dynamic choice. And then also something that I always wished but never found was being able to import questions, being able to import your multiple choice questions. Because sometimes we'll have like a really good resource, like a really good document that has all this stuff on it, but I have to like hand type every single thing through a form that takes like 4 times to like input for every question. It can get really repetitive. So if there was a way to do that, that would be really cool. Some things that are not useful. Sorry, I'm almost clicking on. This is my last slide, guys. My unhelpful features. Students sign up without requirement of real name. Like I literally, okay, so I taught in Oak Cliff. Literally every time I would pull up Kahoot, I would have a Papi Chulo every time. And you just have to like kick them out and be like, sign up again. Like, just give me your name. I would need to know who you are, right? So let them have a nickname, like let them have a nickname on the front end, but also make them give me their real name like on the back end, so it'd be so much easier. And then numbers for numbers' sake, like I was talking about with that Kahoot document, it breaks down the numbers into like so many different ways that I super don't need. And like you could just tell me, just like give me a percentage is fine. And then lastly, noises. Make them easy to turn off if you have to have noise. Like when we signed into quizzes and everyone's phone started singing, you're always gonna have that one little person in the back who's just like turning it all the way up, being like, ha ha, like just trying to distract everybody. So making it easy, yeah, don't give the noise options to the children. Give the noise options to me so I can turn them off. And if I'm a nice teacher and I want to let them have noise or whatever, I can let them have noise. But that's like one of my biggest pet peeves with this stuff for kids. And so those were my unhelpful features. Any questions, comments, concerns, contributions? I know some other people have been teachers in the room. Is there anything else that you would add?
So are all those sites free?
Yes. So all those sites are free. Most of them have some kind of a premium you can get or your school can get. So yeah, these are all free tools. Teachers really don't use stuff unless it's free because we're teachers. So yeah, good question though.
It's really fast. How early do kids get email addresses these days?
Yeah. So most school districts, I wasn't in elementary ed, I was in high school and middle, so I'm not sure, but most student IDs automatically will have an email address attached to it. So I would just assume that as soon as they get their student ID in kindergarten, like they're gonna have an email that goes with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Working in a low-income school, did you encounter any cool apps that you really couldn't use because the kids didn't have good enough smartphones, or is it at the point where like even in low-income schools, every kid has like $100 smartphone?
Every kid has a smartphone, or their friend has 2. Like, I'm not even kidding. They trade those things like they're candy. Like they have a smartphone. Yeah. So there. I had my presenting computer and my desktop, and then I had my phone. So I would have maybe a couple kids who were grounded and couldn't bring their phone to school or something like that, and so I would set them up, but I never needed more than 3 extra. And I had 150 kids, so.
This is another quick question. Were you ever worried that they were like texting or anything and just pretending to play the game, that there's so much they can do on their phones?
Yeah. I would know with Kahoot because Kahoot kicks you out if you move away from it, and so then like you just don't get credit for the rest of the quiz. Yeah. Because quizzes is self-paced, like I didn't mind as much as long as your rocket is always all the way at the end and you're finished, right? Like I don't mind if you want to take the next couple minutes while people are finishing up. But I was like super lax on cell phone policy. There are like lots of people who like make kids put up their phones and they can't see them for the rest of the day. I think we should utilize the technology because the kids are going to be craving it anyways. So I tried to have something that they could do most days where they could use their technology. And so then I would like have them put it away and be like, okay, it's not cell phone time right now. And then when it was, they had to lay it flat on their desk so everyone could see what they were doing. So like if you were texting, like I would just like look over your shoulder and be like, hey, sup, you know, so it would be easier. It's just about setting boundaries, really. So, I mean, like, I guess the real answer to your question is yes, they're going to text, but also I don't care so much.
Were you ever worried about cheating? Maybe like looking up the answers on a different web page?
No, and the reason for that is my kids were not super internet literate. So like I had to teach them how to Google efficiently.
But how about texting each other the question? Like, hey, do you have the answer for this one?
No, I never encountered that. I don't like, well, with like quizzes and stuff, I don't know that it would be efficient because like you only have so much time to answer. So I mean, theoretically, it could happen, but it wasn't really something I dealt with. So, okay.
Is there any like technology against letting them take screenshots of the questions and giving them to people in the next class or something?
No, that's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. Add that to the helpful. Right? Helpful, add that to the helpful list. Yeah, I never thought about that. Maybe. Yes.
What motivated you to get into development?
Yeah. Neopets. Teaching is really hard. The industry is dying. It's not going to be sustainable for very long. And there's a lot of micromanagement, and there's just a lot of things that go along with a dying industry, right? Like, it's just so oppressive. And so I wasn't handling it. And I finally decided, like, I have to get out. I have to do something that I'm passionate about. I've always been passionate about the internet and web. And I love this stuff. Like, I had kids using it all the time because I like it, right? So I moved into, hopefully, what's going to be my forever career. Yay. Okay. Any final thoughts, questions, concerns, feedback?
Will you build a tool with your skills for education?
I would want to be on a team. I really like working with people on stuff. So if there were like a couple of you guys who were like, hey, let's make a good one, I'd be like, okay. But yeah? All right.
Dibs. You got front end.
Okay, I got front end. We gotta figure out about that screenshot thing. I don't know how you do that.
I don't want to talk
Yeah?
Banking software uses a way, like some banking software actually makes it so you cannot screenshot when you're logged in, so that might be a way to do it.
Yeah.
Cool, so there's the technology. You just gotta find it. Cool. That's it.
What kind of content do you teach using technology like this?
So,
and what kind of content was the most effectively communicated and taught through technology? Because it just really seems more like a distraction than anything else.
Sure.
But that's just like coming from my very limited perspective.
Yeah, so I was an English teacher, so did a ton of reading, and we used a ton of paper all the time. So we would have short stories, and we read and annotate, and we spend like a week talking about those stories. Or with my pre-AP kids, we'd be going through an entire novel at a time, and we would do 6 novels in a year, and it was like always super fast-paced. So I use technology kind of as a brain break for my kids. So like we did at Kahoot, that was literally just ABCD. So when I would use that is after we had done a big old packet, and it's the end of the day, and I need this data, right? So the best way to collect it all at once is in like a Kahoot or a Quizzes, and then the kids will know how they did for the day. And so it's definitely not like we're going to spend a whole day doing a Quizzes. Like that would be a waste of time for sure. But I would try and like batch the day, like break it up. So we would do like 20 minutes of instruction, and then practice together, and then independent practice, and then like our end of the day ticket kind of thing. And so this would be like an end of the day thing. Or maybe I would put it in like the middle. So we would do group practice. We'd do a little assessment to make sure the group practice was like effective, and then they would do their independent practice at the end of the day, or something like that. So it's definitely not all the time. And like all these activities were like 10 minutes, right? So it's not something you would spend your entire day on.
And then you mentioned that teaching was dying.
Yeah.
And so I guess in this hypothetical where you have all the power in the world, what kind of changes would we have to implement in order to revitalize teaching? Or what can we do about the death of teaching?
So,
Sorry.
it's a really big question that I'm not qualified to answer. So that's the $1 million question, right? Like, how do we save it? So kids today and how they interact, and they're like, it's such a weird juxtaposition because the kids are so smart. Like they're great and they know how to use all this technology, and they just do whatever they want to do. But that's the thing, they do whatever they want to do, and we're still trying to teach them like their Little House on the Prairie, right? So it's a lot of people in the position I was in, like coming in brand new, all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, being like, I'm gonna have the coolest kids and stuff like that. And then our kids are like super jaded because by the time they get to me from 9th grade, they've had 9 years of like ineffective instruction or being told just like sit down and shut up, right? And it's changing for sure. Like people are realizing this isn't working. We're doing things like having Montessori schools, which is very project-based. A lot of schools are doing project-based or independent learning-based things where students can do things that they're interested in, so they can learn the concepts based on their own avenues, which is way more effective than just like sit down and shut up and listen to me, because they just don't have the attention span for it. And I don't understand how kids ever had the attention span for it. But I also grew up on the internet, so.
Yes, ma'am. Do kids ever read the books on their tablets?
Sometimes. So when I was teaching pre-AP, I would have the kids get their own copies of the novel so they could annotate it. So I wouldn't have tablets, but some of the kids would pull up the ebook on their phone. And like they can like annotate and stuff in Amazon and like the Kindle app. So, and I didn't mind that either. Like it's, the kids. So like I had kids that definitely wouldn't be able to read an ebook, right? Like they would definitely just like be texting or whatever. But like I didn't really ever have an issue with it. So.
Quick question. Did other teachers of other subjects use these technologies as much as you, or were you unique?
Yes. So most teachers, and I think our previous math teacher maybe can speak to this a little bit better, but math teachers get to use more technology than us.
Everybody uses Kahoot. It's all over.
Yeah.
Like everybody
Yeah. Everybody uses Kahoot at least, and our math teachers and our geography teachers, I mostly just worked with other people on the 9th grade level, but they would actually send quizzes tests home. So like you can set it up so that they have to answer within a certain range, and so they would do like a 30 question something, go home, do the reading, answer these 30 questions, and come back. So there's a lot of different things you can do with it, but definitely getting integrated all over the place.
I guess one more.
Yeah, sure.
So I feel like the trope is that teachers spend a lot of time grading papers or grading quizzes. Would you say that this saves massive amounts of time, or do you still spend a lot of time grading stuff by hand?
So there's never going to be a good solution for your open-ended question, grading. So I am going to have to go through every one of those every time. If I have it like neatly like written down all for me like together, that's very helpful, right? But for like as an English teacher, I'm always going to be grading essays. I'm never going to not be grading free response. But if I can take like my end tickets and stuff like that, like this, if I can save my minute amounts of time on the smaller things, that means a lot. Just because there is just so much time you have to pour into that. So.
Yeah. So a lot of the features you were asking for in something like this involves collecting and storing personal information, and for children that's a challenge.
Yeah.
So like, can schools deal with that?
So that's a question.
If all of those gradebook apps are storing that data,
Yeah.
there must be a way around it, because all like eSchool, PowerSchool, all of those are also
that's
storing all of
Like,
the same data.
all
So
of
if you're
them.
just talking about student ID and name, then
Yeah.
I don't see why that would be any different in this kind of.
So I was thinking about that too, as I was like putting this together. But my thing is like the schools will pay for things like All in Learning and eSchool and stuff. The schools are licensing that, so I don't know like if there are laws or anything that like would go into like asking for a student ID. But then also you're giving them an email address that is just their student ID at DISD, right? So I don't know. But it was definitely something I'd have to look into if we were going to develop something new. Okay, I think I'm done. Thank you guys so much.
Great.
That's awesome.